everyone, my name is Amelia, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And today I'm going to go over my planners and goals for 2025. We're kicking it old school. This is where I used to do my videos way back in the day. I used to just like sit in front of my shelf and do them. It's been a long time since we've been here. We are returning and trying new things and returning to old things as well, which is kind of the theme of my goals this year. I am hoping to try new things, expand my horizons as it were, but also return to old habits and kind of just like revive like good habits, old habits, things I used to do that served me well that maybe I've kind of abandoned over the years or just lost track of or sight of. And that's really where I'm like working from this year. So I have, I would say, 3.5 planners. One, and the biggest investment in my opinion is this is my real name. Amelia is my pen name and my YouTube channel name. So this is my HB90 planner. I bought myself this cover last year when I started doing my own printouts in an A5 format. And I will say that printing an A5 double-sided is a mission. It is the most complicated thing. It shouldn't be this hard, but it really is. If you're not printing on like a standard printer that can do automatic double-sided, you have to like flip it, reverse it, turn it upside down, figure out what you did the last time because you're going to forget again. And when your printer stops printing halfway because you run out of paper and then have to figure out how to print out the odd pages, that was a nightmare. Let me just say it shortly put, that was a nightmare. But I did finally manage to print this out after several unsuccessful attempts. I have a few old planner stickers, so I just like decided to decorate with those. But this is the yearly planner. So HB90, if you are unaware or unfamiliar with this method, is Sarah Cannon's writing, planning, goal setting tool system. It's a whole thing. It comes with a course. I used to use the planner before I ever took the course, and then she's like made new versions of the planner over the years. So I've since taken the course and learned all the ins and outs, but it's a whole method that it like involves like quarterly planning, looking at what your goals are, like future planning, how long it's going to take you to get there, how many like Pomodoro style tasks it's going to take you to achieve that goal, etc. So it's a whole to-do, and I've been doing this now. The first time I did it was 2019 when I was just kind of like DIYing it myself based on her videos, and since taking the course, I've done it now for 1.5 years. So this is the first time that I've done her year planner. I think it might actually be the first time she's released it. It's a completely different planner. So rather than this being like a weekly, which is what I'm used to, this is an actual goals planner. So she's got a checklist for it. There's each quarter, I printed out all 4 quarters. It's too large to fit into this, so I'll just change it. But there's a whole, like section where you go through your vision statements, what your mission is. So I have a very solid sense of, my vision board, etc. So I have a very solid sense of what I want out of this new year. So in terms of like my vision, what I really want to do is, one, I would like to grow this channel. I've been making YouTube videos since like 2016, initially just for funsies, and I would throw out the occasional video. I've since cleared out most of those videos because I wanted to like clean up the algorithm now that I have a solid sense of what my niche is, which is mostly lifestyle, budgeting, and working towards being a published author. But one of my main goals is to grow this YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed, if you'd like to help me towards this goal, please do. I would love to have you here. I also would like to finally, publish my books. I've been working towards being a published author for a while. I tried traditional methods and querying and all that with several different books until I decided to switch tactics and focus on self-publishing. I made that choice for myself. I thought it was the best choice for the kinds of books I am writing and just for where I see my future career going. So that was a hard decision, but I think it's the right decision for me. So my goal is this year to publish book 1, ideally by the fall of 2025. all things going as planned, that is the goal. I would like to then publish book 2 a couple months after that. So in my mind right now, this is looking like October, November, December, maybe like publishing book 1 in October and maybe book 2 in late November or early December. But maybe book 2 might need to be a little bit later. That all depends on how editing for book 2 goes. Book 1, however, I do plan to publish either late October, early November. Ideally November, but I don't know if November is a good month. I gotta do some more research into that, but we shall see. It works based on what the book is about. So that is the dream and the goal. So those are the two big ones, are grow this channel and publish the books. Tied to that also, establish a marketing plan, build the business, get all the bits and pieces that are necessary to actually get a book published, like the covers, the formatting, etc. Teach myself how to use vellum, because a lot of the work it's going to be all done by me, because I just do not have the money to outsource all the pieces. But I'm also like a graphic design savvy person, so I hope I'll be okay. In theory, I should be okay. I am not the worst. We'll see what happens. So those are the two biggest goals. My other goals involve my health and wellness. If you've been along on this journey for a while, you will know that I suffer from migraines. I have hypothyroidism. I am 40, so menopause is just around the corner, and I want to be as well prepared for whatever life brings. I have a family history of terrible health, and so I would like to avoid being in terrible health in my old age. So part of those returning to old goals and habits involves being much better about meal prepping, which also ties into my budgeting goals for the year. So being much more conscious of what I'm eating, how that affects my health. I'm also currently experimenting with a protocol that my doctor gave me for MTHFR and addressing what may or may not be issues related to that. And that's a whole other side health quest that I am currently on. But seeing what affects me diet-wise is essential, because if I'm doing all this stuff and I'm just like, blowing all my efforts by eating things that either, are counterintuitive to the kind of work I'm doing, or somehow, don't allow for proper absorption or something. So being much more conscious of what I eat, meal prepping, both for saving money and for health reasons, and also returning to a solid workout plan. I have since June, after several injuries in the last year. Actually, there's been several injuries over the last like 3.5 years, but I'm okay now, and I've been able to progress my overall weightlifting routine. So I started lifting weights with a very modest, like 5 pounds, because I had really lost like all of my strength over time in my shoulders and in my knees, because I had injuries in both areas. So that's not including 2 ankles that I sprained in 2020 and 2021. So like my body had already gone through it, and I had to rebuild from the very bottom. I had already been doing yoga and Pilates. I had been doing physical therapy. So I started doing weightlifting in June. I initially with like 2 days a week, then building up to 3 days a week, building up my strength from those 5 pounds now to lifting 15 pounds max, different reps and different sets and stuff like that. But coming up from like 0 to 5 to 8 to 10, 12, 15s. And now I can, do the range. My goal is to then progress to lift heavier, to go up in the next, either higher reps or more weight or whatever, but like overall to progressively overload and build my strength up again, because building muscle is essential. Like I said, I'm 40. I need to build muscle for my old age. I don't want to suffer from all the ailments that my family has given me as an example, and which I know I could easily fall prey to if I'm not careful. So that is my big, big, big health goal, is returning to a place where I am regularly working out and balancing that out with, like writing, doing my job, because I do have a 9 to 5, building my business, building this YouTube channel. It is a lot. So when I put it all together, it's overwhelming. But I know that I can do this if I am, reasonable in how I split my days. If I am good about self-care and not burning out, I can do this. It it requires a sustainable practice. Like I can't do it all at once and I can't do it for like hours every day, but I can do it little by little and just build towards those good habits. My other big goal, which I've already mentioned, is the budgeting goals. I've also made a video on that separately because that's like a whole other challenge that I'm going through. So that is my no/low buy year 2 of doing that and being a much more conscious consumer and much more hyper aware of where my money goes. I've been practicing like very intense budget analyses for the last year and like being very conscious of what I buy and where my money goes. And I also determined that my biggest pain point is dining out and has been for a while. I feel like the reason it has become the biggest pain point is because everything with inflation has really gone up. Even like just tipping practices have increased from like 15% to like now, you don't really go any lower than like 18 at most places. So there's all these expectations. I see my camera is about to die. So let's find that charger. And we're back. I mean, are you even a YouTuber if your camera doesn't die halfway through your recording? I mean, let's be for real. So as I was saying, returning to those good habits, continuing to practice good spending, mindfulness, and watching, like I said, the dining out portion of things. Not only will it help with my health, but it will help with my money situation. I feel like it may be too lofty, but I would like to save at least twice as much as I saved in 2024, which was like just under $2,000 in addition to my regular savings. So this was like leftover at the end of the month savings, which is the big project that I'm working on, is to have more money left over at the end of the month by spending less throughout. That may be too lofty, but that is the amount I have set for myself. If I can reach somewhere around either $35,000 or $4,000 in addition to what I have, regularly saved, like by paying myself first and all that, then I will better be able to achieve some of the longer term goals, which include ideally moving out of this place and maybe finally owning a place of my own in collaboration with my partner or by myself, depending on what we decide in terms of our future life together. That is a whole other story. But for now, that is really what I would like to work on in terms of the big lofty goals. It's starting the business, which is what I was saving for last year. And because we tried to purchase a home and then saw that there was no way, like even with what we earn, it wasn't possible. We needed not only to have more savings, but to have a deeper sense of how our money was being spent. That's another like big longer term goal. It may or may not happen in 2025, but I need to set these foundations in place to do that. So those are the big goals. The other, parts of my vision are like just sub goals of those, but that is what I am tracking, what I am working towards, and what I am like really focusing on in the next year in terms of reestablishing those good habits and building a practice and having a plan and motivation moving forward. Now, in terms of the planners, like I said, I'm working with the HB90, which is a little different from the one I'm used to. So I've already gone through, she has categories to like enter your goals. And then I also then copy these in Notion and I keep like a tracker, like a Kanban board. Kanban board is a part of the method that she recommends. It has worked for me. Some pieces I leave behind, some pieces I adapt. The Kanban board has worked as a way to keep track of like, what do I achieve moving it across, like into the in progress to complete sections really does help me in terms of keeping me going and like being able to then see at the end, like what you did achieve. Because sometimes it's very easy for us to do a lot and then feel like we haven't done enough. Like that, I feel is a thing that happens a lot when I'm like in my day-to-day job. And then it comes time to do my annual review and I'm like, oh, wow, I did like all these amazing things, but I completely forgot about it until I write it down. So I do keep track of things like that at this point, and especially when it comes to small projects. So I've got my focus for January. I've got my January calendar set up already. So I've started that and it's still week 1. So I started small, but each week she has like these task block trackers. So this year will be more so about moving things along rather than like using this planner to like plan my week. So this planner is more of a task tracker, a keeping me on task tracker, and a seeing what needs focus to keep, building towards the ultimate goals. So I have a few items already in for week 2, and I'll just do these week to week, move things along and move these across the weeks. I also like, and this is what I most like about this program, that even though sometimes it does feel like homework, like she does include like a weekly review and a quarterly review where you can see where your progress is, where your challenges were, what your pain points were, etc., and what you can work on to build towards actually moving, like things off the board, or like what can you do to address those challenges or pain points that you're facing. It's been helpful, I will say. Will I continue to use this system like indefinitely? I don't know. I think it's more so for project planning. If I reach a stage where a lot of these things just become second nature, maybe I won't need it in quite that structured of a format. But for now, it has been really helpful over the last year and a half to use that kind of quarterly planning system and have a very structured process. This one's a little different from what I'm used to, so we'll see how well it works. But I did commit to doing it for the year, and I am nothing if not the kind of person who is a completist. So we shall see that through. This is my attempt at being cheap and having something like a Hobonichi. So this is the Inamio planner. I don't know if this is a well-known brand or just some random brand off of Yield Amazons, but I found it. I think it was like $12 or something like that. We shall see. So this is because I was thinking about getting Hobonichi weeks. I did not want to shell out the, like $30 plus $40 or whatever it's worth. So I was looking for a dupe. This came up. It is nice. It's got that like, what is this called? It's like that soft feel. There's a name for it. I feel like it's very common in like makeup packaging. It's like that soft feel that feels very buttery, but it's not leather. And it's definitely not plasticky. So I will, of course, remember like after the fact what this is called. But if you know what I'm talking about. So it's got the monthly calendar, which I really appreciate for like planning out what comes. I do combine this with my Google Calendar, but I do still like having things on print because I can then add notes and track things, and I might just do like initial planning for the month on here and then finalize things later on the Google Calendar. So I do like that. So it's got the first half is just the monthlies, and then the second half is the weeklies with the timestamps. It does have the 24-hour clock, so I always have to like do the math in my head. But it's good for me to, make my brain work a little harder sometimes. So it's nice for daily planning. So this is what I wanted this one for. I wanted it for daily planning, for a scheduling of tasks, and for, again, keeping me on track with what I'm doing. So here I've already entered like, this is Sunday, it's today when I'm recording this. So like I had meal prep for lunches. I have a nice little like, it's a 6-item tracker up here that I can use to track like the main tasks for the day. I usually try to do a method where you have like 3 priority tasks and like 2 tasks for you. That doesn't always work out, but that is the way that I saw somebody one time presented on YouTube. I think it was Seaweed Kisses. It might have not been. It might have been Coffee Monsters Co. But one of those 2 planning channels had talked about this method where you take like 3 tasks that you want to, that are crucial and you need to like try to get done in that day, and then 2 other tasks that are just for you. And if you finish those 3 tasks, you can maybe add some more tasks or just move up the other 2 tasks. So it's like in order to balance out your days. So I do use Sundays to do like personal planning, and then I use Mondays, which will be tomorrow, to go in and do my like work planning, because there will always be stuff that comes up for work that I maybe wasn't thinking about. So then once we've got it in the planner, I can also like move it to the calendar. It helps for me to have it in both places. I do need both digital and print. I've tried being strictly digital and it did not work out for me because I do like that, handwriting motion to feel like I have control over my plan. It's a thing. It's just how my brain works. And I've tried just strictly paper planning, and then stuff falls through the cracks because I don't have like reminders for like time sensitive things. So having a combination of the two really helps. But for tasks, paper planning is the method that I use primarily. So those are the two main planners. My third planner is an older planner that I had in my collection. I already think I discussed this in my most recent vlog, which will either go up before or after this. If it was after, then I will include it in the iCards. But this is a Commit 30 planner. I think I bought this like 2 or 3 years ago when I was first working towards some other goal. What was I working towards here? I think this was in the post-pandemic years where I was like working on like reestablishing workouts amidst going to work, just looking through the old notes. That's kind of what it looks like. It was me doing a lot of like dance cardio and splits. So that's, I should have put the years. Clearly I did not, but I think this is like the post-pandemic time period when I was returning to work and figuring out how to do that. So I think this planner is from like 2021, 2022. I had it in my collection, and because this year I do want to, like I said, reintroduce some of those healthy like lifestyle habits, I have decided to reuse it rather than tracking like macros and calories and stuff like that in my Fitness Pal, which is what I do on and off throughout my years. I decided to do some paper tracking, and it also allows me to track 30-day challenges. So this month's challenge is to do 30 days of yoga. In addition to everything else, I need to make sure that I keep up with marking it off. And it does ask you to do a reward. And since I'm trying to avoid like spending too much, I decided that if I complete my 30 days of yoga, which started on January 3rd, so it'll go into February, I will either get myself a box of Nespresso pods or a nice soap. So I think those are like consumables that fit within my budgeting goals, but are also a nice little reward to give myself if I accomplish my 30 days of yoga within the 30 days and not like have to take a break in between, which happens. And if it does happen, it's fine. I will still complete it, just maybe not over 30 days. But that's the plan. The other, that I use is obviously I have an iPad mini. I take this to work with me every day. This thing gets carried around everywhere. So I do use GoodNotes for like any time that I have to break down a task and like really think it through. Sometimes I do need to like brainstorm what goes towards accomplishing a thing. I use GoodNotes for that. I also use Notion to keep like a working to-do list in addition to all this other stuff. I do sometimes just need a to-do list to make sure that I like get stuff done, like pay my bills and stuff like that. So those are just on the working to-do list that I have. I feel like my legs are going numb, so I will wrap this up for now. I've been blathering on long enough, but that is what I will be doing this year. Those are my major goals, my long-term goals, and how I plan on tracking all this stuff and holding myself accountable for actually achieving the things I set out to do. So if you're working towards a big lofty goal, let me know what you're working towards down below. I would love to hear from you. I hope you have a great new year and that we can all work towards our dreams and goals. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.